Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I'm your host Monk, aka The Monk Petition, and in this very episode, guys, we're going to be breaking down all 11 fights from a DFS perspective for UFC Vegas 55, headlined by, I have no idea, honestly, cannot remember. Oh, there we go, Holm and Ketlen Vieira. So super exciting card altogether. But seriously, there are some pretty good fights here. Let's get some quick business out of the way first. Please check out teamriseorfall.com. If you guys play DFS sports of any kind, get over there, check it out now. Use code MONK, save yourself $10 on a subscription. We got experts covering every single DFS sport over there, winning money daily, posting winners, posting advice, etc., articles, videos, all kinds of tools that you guys need to get those takedowns. So be sure to go to teamriseorfall.com, check it out, use code MONK, and also check out the MMA Engine, MMA_engine on Twitter and MMA Engine on YouTube. It's me, Brady, Wheezy, and Lou Bet doing all kinds of shit going forward, getting you prepared for every single UFC card, whether it's betting, DFS, or just plain pick and fight. So check out MMA Engine. And with all that said, guys, we are good to go. Let's bust these fights out. First fight of the night, UFC Vegas 55. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. On the road to 300. You guys are killing the subs. I really appreciate it. Elise Reed, first fight of the night, going against Sam Hughes, strawweight fight. Reed, $8,500. What do we get from Reed? She is coming off of a win against Corey McKenna, that's right, and Sam Hughes coming off of her first UFC win over Estela Nunes. Elise Reed, 8,500, 2.29 points per minute, and only 70 in her UFC win. She did allow 4.09 points a minute and 113 when she lost to Eubanks, but she got pretty much dominated there. That's why these numbers are extremely high. I think she got finished in the first round. She is, wow, $1,350 over her average salary with an average value of just 5. Not good DraftKings numbers at all for Elise Reed. Sam Hughes on the other side. Let me fix my monitor here. $7,700, 2.75 points a minute, and 91 when she won against Nunes there. Gives up an average of 3.45 per minute and 95 when she loses. She's also well over her average salary at $625. Not even a 6 average value here. Yeah, this one, I mean, I love the salaries. 85 and 77, fantastic salaries. Sam Hughes did make the optimal lineup in her last fight, but I just do not like this fight for GPP games. Maybe some cash if you're looking. If I am playing a GPP side, I'm probably playing Sam Hughes. Cheaper salary, $7,700 is a fantastic salary, and you get the much better DraftKings scoring upside from Sam Hughes as well. So not much else going for this fight here. 4-1 is Elise Reed in her last 5. As we said, and then Sam Hughes here's her last 3. Lost her first 3 in the UFC to Torres, Lukbumi, and Pinheiro, and then did get that win over Nunes after a bit of a rough start. Raw DraftKings points per minute. Reed trending up and well below her opponents. And then the same exact thing for Sam Hughes. Here are my projections. Whatever you think's going to happen, guys, here's how I think it will score, and obviously much higher projections for Sam Hughes with the much better DraftKings points per minute and per win numbers there. And then the UFC and career finishing percentages. Where is my water? Just over 50% in wins, losses, and losses in the UFC. No finish wins in the UFC, though. We'll have to see what Computer Monk says about this one. I do not like this fight, like I said, for GPP, but cash, I definitely don't mind it at all. Next fight, Chase the Dream Hooper. Booger Beard's #1 guy going against Felipe Colares. Let's see. We'll start with Colares. $8,600. Another subpar DraftKings scorer here. 2.32 points a minute. 78.28 points per win. And he's getting just outscored tremendously. 4.74 points a minute is what he's giving up. That is extremely high. 109.5 points when he loses. And this is over 3 UFC losses, guys. Colares, so for all those subpar stats, you also have to pay $1,360 over his average salary. I can't even believe that's I mean, why? Chase Hooper, $7,600, 2.84 points a minute, 93 when he wins, 2.88 is what he gives up, and only 85 when he loses. He is $875 under his average salary. I'll be on the Hooper side for for DraftKings. I guess you have to play him in GPPs. Again, you get the salary relief. I mean, Colares is probably going to win this fight. He has made the optimal lineup in 1 out of his last 2 fights, but he has never scored over 90 points. So somehow he made the optimal by scoring 81.62 points, it looks like, over Luke Sanders. So it must have been a pretty poor week. Yeah, not too excited about this fight for DraftKings at all. The strength of schedules are really bad. You want these numbers to be at 70. We are in the mid-60s for Chase Hooper. And then Colares actually does have a decent strength of victory and strength of defeat. I mean, raw DraftKings points per minute, Chase and his opponents pretty much even, both trending up. And then Colares well under his opponents and barely trending up, while his opponents are trending down. So you do like to see that. Chase Hooper with the much higher projection, as you would expect, from the very low DraftKings output from Colares. And then the visual statistical recap, much more real estate here for Chase Hooper, as Colares has a big chunk missing because he has never finished a UFC fight. And then the aggregate professional and UFC career finishing percentages, never been finished in a loss. So neither of these guys have ever been finished. Both of them pulling off a few wins by way of finish, but neither has ever been finished. So I mean, this one could easily go to a decision, 70, 80 points for the winner. I'm not too excited about the Colares side, but you have to play him because Hooper, I guess not. Like I said, neither of these guys has ever been finished. If you think Colares could finish Hooper, you have to play a small percentage of him. But I will definitely be playing some Hooper in GPPs and a bit of Colares as well. I'm going to be pretty low exposed to this fight probably, however. Third fight of the night, we are cruising, not even 7 minutes in. Let's go. Jonathan Dragon Martinez going against Vince Morales. Morales, $7,300, has made the optimal in 1 out of his last 2 fights. Again, subpar DraftKings score. Both of these guys, honestly. 2.16 points a minute for Morales. Only 77.5 when he wins. You're not making the optimal lineup with 77 points. He did score 110 against Luis Smolka. So you can imagine, without that 110 points in his last fight, this average would be significantly lower. So not too excited about Morales in DraftKings. Allows 2.5 points a minute, only 81 when he wins. So not a, he's got a great defensive DraftKings pace as well. And he is $400 under his average salary, so that is a good thing. Average value, the best we've seen so far, at only 6.59. Let's go over to the Jonathan Martinez side, $8,900, 2.71 points a minute, so not bad, but not even top 10 as far as offensive pace for this card. 73.99 points per win. This is over 6 wins, you guys. Yeah, he put up 114 against Frankie Saenz, so take that one out, just like we did for the Morales one. That number will be significantly lower, less than probably 68 at that point. Jonathan Martinez, 2.46 points a minute is what he gives up, and 90 when he loses. $738 over his average salary and a over 7 value. So finally we cracked the top 10 in value here. But still not very excited for this fight for GPPs. Just from a stats point of view, someone could easily come out here and finish. So you do have to play both sides of this thing. However, Morales only 1 finish in the UFC, and Martinez has finished twice and 1 finish loss. So not a ton of finishes here. Martinez doesn't score a ton of points in takedowns and control time, doesn't give up a ton either. But both of these guys giving up more grappling points than they are scoring. So you would assume this is going to be a stand-up battle. Strength of schedule is actually pretty good for both guys. In the 70s. In the 70s for the most part. Martinez 4-1 in his last 5. Morales 3-2 with losses to Lopez and Gutierrez. Martinez with a TKO loss to Davy Grant, which is aging decently well. Raw DraftKings points per minute. Martinez above his opponent, but trending down. On the other side, Morales below his opponent, but trending up. And then here are my projections. Pretty even, pretty bad, pretty low, especially in GPPs. Excuse me, got to make sure I unmuted myself here. And then the DraftKings visual statistical recap, pretty even, with a bit higher of a win percentage for Martinez and that strength of victory as well. But Morales getting that bonus points and DraftKings points per win edge, which is what you want to see. Professional career and UFC career finish rates, pretty low for the most part. 65% of their wins have been finishes in their career, but once you get to the UFC, it drops to a third for wins and losses. Man, this is kind of one of those fights that you're going to kick yourself if you don't play, and if you do play it, you might be kicking yourself anyways. I tend to think this one goes to decision. Neither of these guys score well at all. I do not like this fight for GPP, but also I do not know what's going to happen. This is one you're definitely going to have to do your fight tape on. If you think someone is going to finish this fight, definitely put them in your roster. But the salary differential is so huge here, 73 to 89. I mean, I'll probably be higher on the Morales side, especially for, he did make the optimal lineup. But like I said, both of these guys do not score well in DraftKings, so play at your own risk. But this just seems like a perfect fight where you see these low stats, and then some guy comes out here and gets a first-round finish, breaks the slate, scores 120 points, and then you look like an idiot. So my advice would be to play a small percentage of them in GPPs. Next fight. On it, you're going to have to wait. Omar Morales going against Uros Medic. Man, another fight that I'm going to have to do fight tape on here. Medic 1-1 in the UFC, $7,800. He has made the optimal lineup once. Almost 6 points a minute. Here we go with some scoring. 6 points a minute, 121 when he wins. Gives up almost 4 a minute and 112 in his one loss. He is 850 under his average salary. It's got a huge ceiling here for Uros Medic. Only less than 6 minutes of average fight time, however, not the best look. Definitely need some more experience before I can put any kind of stock in that 6 points a minute. Omar Morales, 8,400. Both of these guys making the optimal lineup in one of their past 2 fights. 2.11 points per minute and only 66.92 when he wins. I mean, these numbers are terrible this week, guys. Gives up 2.2 points a minute, 95 when he loses. So a good defensive pace, third best on the card, but he is out here getting finished occasionally, which is why his DraftKings points per loss numbers are so high. 220 under his average salary, so you do get a bit of salary relief on Morales. And at 8,400, 7,800, you can play either one of these guys. Neither one of them is going to be difficult to get to. Complete opposite when it comes to scoring. Morales has yet to put up over 90 points in a UFC fight, and Medic is over 100% in his one win. Obviously, only his one win, so did pretty well in that one. This is worrisome. Medic allowing 1.7 points a minute in grappling. That's what he allows. Morales almost a half a point between takedowns and control time. But Morales also giving up a ton of takedown and control time points as well. So probably expecting more of a stand-up battle here as well. Here are some basic fight statistics. Strength of schedule, Morales dominating every category, but less than 70 for the most part across the board. You definitely don't want to see that. But Uros Medic strength of schedule, not good at all. Last fight was against Jalen Turner. He got subbed in the first round. First fight in the UFC, Alon Cruz was he was victorious over Alon Cruz in the first round. Morales just dropping to JSP and then Giga Chikadze, so definitely not anything to be ashamed of there. 2 really good fighters with wins over Shane Young, Gabriel Benitez, and Dong Young Ma. Raw DraftKings points per minute, just over his opponent and barely trending down while his opponents trend up. That JSP fight really kind of screwed him up there, gave up a lot of points in that one. Here are my projections, obviously much higher for Medic with that 6 points a minute. We will see if he can keep that kind of pace on Omar Morales. This is one I will be targeting a bit more than any of the fights I have shown so far, but in their professional careers, much higher finishing percentage than in the UFC, but obviously a much smaller sample size as well. So I don't trust Uros Medic. I like his scoring upside, so I will be having a bit of him in GPPs. But I'm also going to be playing Omar Morales. I like him for cash a little better. Obviously, his pace is less than optimal. 2.11 points a minute and 67 when he wins. Never scored 90. So be careful if you're playing Omar Morales in GPP tournaments. But he does have 5 wins by sub, and Medic did just get subbed by Jalen Turner. So that is a path to victory there. Yeah, you cannot go 0% on this one at all. And at 84 and 78, they're not going to be that difficult to get to. So I like this fight for GPPs. Oh, man, next fight, the fight of the night. I am not going to be the guy on Parker Porter this week. Jailton Almeida going against Parker Porter. Porter, $6,800, has a good pace, 4 points a minute, 94 when he wins, gives up 3 points a minute, and 127.5 in his one loss. He is $1,100 under his average salary and the best value on the card we've seen so far at 9.2. So despite all the jokes and what everybody wants to say about Parker Porter, he does have decent DraftKings numbers so far in the UFC, but he also hasn't fought anyone, guys. I mean, Alan Badeau, Chase Sherman, Josh Parisian, these are three of the worst heavyweights in the heavyweight division, honestly. And then obviously the loss to Chris Daukaus. So he's not fighting anyone that's really worth a shit. Jailton Almeida made the optimal lineup in his UFC debut, $9,400. He is moving up to heavyweight. People are concerned about the size differential. I am not one of those people. He's going to be much quicker. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. 9.64 points a minute for Almeida, 118 in that win. I mean, he gave up basically 0 points to Danilo Marquez. 1260 average value, and he's coming in exactly at his last salary at 9,400. Guys, I'm going to be playing probably 100% of this fight. You can just kind of look through these stats while I scroll a bit. Actually, Almeida, let me read this. I don't even know this math. 5.1 grappling points per minute. Did I do that right? Yeah, 5.1. Wow. And 4.5 in just striking. So this guy's scoring everywhere. I know that was a very quick under 3-minute win. So those stats are a bit skewed. Strength of schedule, this one's going to Porter, and it's not good. I mean, less than 70 in almost every category, and we're basically less than 60 for Jailton Almeida. So that is his one knock. He hasn't fought anyone yet, and even Parker Porter probably won't raise his strength of schedule that much. We already talked about who Porter beat. Raw DraftKings points per minute off the charts for Almeida. Projections, what do you expect? The graph, what do you expect? All these stats are just going to say Almeida is going to smash Porter. That's kind of why I'm scrolling really quickly through them. My advice for this fight, I would play it 100%, pretty much, 90 to 100%. I think Almeida finishes Porter in the first round 90% of the time. So I would be playing a minimum of 90% of the fight. But out of that 90%, I'm playing at least 80, maybe even 85, 90% of Jailton Almeida. Put Parker Porter in the other lineups, because what if he catches him? This is a heavyweight versus a light heavyweight. You know, he could easily, not easily, but he could catch him. It could happen. And you don't want to be on the side that, you know, threw $9,400 away in every single one of your lineups. So play both sides, play close to 100%. I highly doubt this one is going to see the third round, or I'm sorry, the judges' scorecard, I should say. So I do think someone finishes. I think it's Almeida, and I think he does score well. But play both sides. Next fight, Joseph Ugly Man Holmes going against Alan Amedovski. Amedovski has awful numbers. I don't even really need to talk about them. They're very, very bad. $7,400, half a point a minute in 2 UFC fights. His numbers are god awful for DraftKings. Just know that. He does have 8 KO wins. All of his wins have come by way of finish. Has never been, he's been knocked out once and 1 decision loss. Joseph Holmes on the other side, 0-1 in the UFC, lost to Jamie Pickett. $8,800. $8,800 for Joseph Holmes. 1.86 points a minute, gives up 2.4. I don't know what to do. I want to skip this fight entirely for GPPs. I mean, these guys are not scoring. Joseph Holmes was exhausted in the second round. Alan Amedovski is 0-2, scores half a DraftKings point per minute. I don't like anything about this fight. My advice would be to not play it, but then you're going to come out here and someone's going to get a first round finish. And I just hate fights like this for DraftKings, because I don't know what to do. You're going to have to tape again. I mean, Amedovski just got smashed by John Phillips, and he hasn't fought since September of 2019, over 2.5 years, basically 6 months before COVID started. This dude hasn't fought. I don't like this fight. I think Joseph Holmes probably wins. I think it goes to decision, and I think it is ugly. I guess I'll play 15-20% in GPP tournaments. Cash, I guess I'd play Holmes, but at 8,800, what's the point? Like, go find somebody that's that puts up a better pace than 1.86 points per minute. I mean, it's just nothing about this fight is something that I'm interested in at all. Eric Anders going against Jung Young Park. Now, here's where the fights start to get interesting to me. Middleweight fight, the Iron Turtle, $9,000 this week. Absolutely love watching this guy fight. I'm a huge fan. 4.22 points per minute for the Iron Turtle. That is the best pace on the entire card. Almost 100 when he wins, and that's over his 3 UFC wins. Allows 2.71 points a minute, but when he loses, he is giving up tons of points. 127.18. Just kind of looking. That was a second round sub. Yeah, so he's been finished twice in the second round, just giving up tons of points there. Over $1,000 on his average salary. Guys, excuse me, I have to let my cat. Scratching at the door. I cannot have that. Can't have it. So excuse me. Where was I? Jung Young Park, 1,040 over his average salary, his average value of just under 9. So he is a tremendous DraftKings score. Love this fight for GPPs especially. Eric Anders, 2.8 raw DraftKings points per minute, 88.87 when he wins. Pretty good defensively, allowing just 2.5 points per minute and 84 when he loses. This is over 6 UFC losses, so not giving up a ton of points. Very good defensive pace. Top 5 numbers there. He's also $1,177 under his average salary with an average value of just under 7. So I love this fight for GPPs, guys. Scoring per minute, Park has put up over 90 in 2 of his 3 UFC wins and over 110 in the other one, or in 1 of them, sorry. And then 6 UFC wins for Anders. He's put up 90 in 3 of them and over 100 in 2 of them. Let's see here. Jung Young Park giving up almost a point per minute in takedowns and control time. And Eric Anders does shoot for takedowns occasionally. 0.48 points a minute in takedowns and 0.43 points a minute in control time. So Park will have to watch out for that. But actually, now that I'm seeing this, Park is scoring almost a 1.5 from takedowns and control time on his end. So, you know, no slouch when it comes to the ground game there. So I love both of these guys. And in fact, those are the best numbers on the card. 0.87 points per minute and 0.61 points per minute in control time. The best numbers in those categories on the card from Jung Young Park. Let's see, gives up 70 on average when he loses. Eric Anders scores about 52.5 on average in bonus when he wins. Some relevant fights stats here that you can look at. The first time we have a decent strength of schedule for both fighters here. My goodness, pretty even. Both guys 3-2 in the past 5 pro fights. Anders losing to Andre Muniz, first round sub, and Krzysztof Jotko. Park losing to Rodriguez after he almost had him finished, and then the second round sub to Fluffy Hernandez back in 2019. But I love this fight. Love this fight for DraftKings. I think someone's going to get finished. I do not think this one goes the distance. Both these guys just, hit so freaking hard. I don't see how this one could go all 3 rounds. DraftKings visual statistical recap. Park, no UFC finishes, so that's why he is missing a large chunk of his graph here. And then the aggregate and UFC career finishing percentages, pretty low for the most part. I bet Computer Monk thinks this one finishes inside I can't speak. He thinks this one probably goes to decision, if I had to guess, but we will check it out at the end of the video, so don't go anywhere. I love this fight for GPP, as I've said a couple of times already. You have to play Park. I think he is going to win, but this Eric Anders is no joke, dude. And you get him at $7,200. He's $1,200 less than his average salary. Play this fight, guys. Park with the best DraftKings numbers on the card almost, and then Anders with a huge finish upside, in my opinion. He has finished 3 of his 6 UFC fights. Love it. Park never finished a UFC fight, so that is something to think about, but he still scores very well, so I'll be very highly exposed to this fight as far as larger field tournaments. Next fight, guys, we are crushing this. I'm going to be done in 40 minutes. Viana. Going against Tabitha Ricci, the people's main event, it seems like. Viana, $7,900, has made the optimal in her one fight since January 1st of 2021. She's scoring 3.03 points per minute and 103.84 when she wins. These are fantastic numbers for DraftKings, especially for strawweight fight. She also gives up 2.78, but only 78 points when she loses. So pretty good defensive pace there, coming in $667 under her average salary, which is fantastic. Oh, my car might be done. I just missed a phone call. That would be great news. 7.62 average value. Tabitha Ricci on the other side, $8,300, scores 3.34 points per minute, 99.94 when she wins. Gives up even more than that, 3.5 points a minute, and 120 in her one UFC loss is what she gave up. She's also $550 over her average salary, average value of just under 7. This is another fight, honestly, that I'm going to be targeting. I think someone's getting subbed here. I do not think this one goes the distance. I know that's tough to say. With everyone wants to shit on women's fights, WMMA all the time. It's just not like that. Women's flyweights have the best statistical percentage probability, that's the word I'm looking for, of making the optimal lineup. Strawweights not quite as good, but some of these women are just killers, man. They just know how to finish fights, even if you don't know much about them, or that you don't just see them that much. I do think that this one is going to get finished. 3 wins for Viana, all 3 of her wins in the UFC coming by way of submission. Ricci has not pulled off a sub yet. She did get knocked out in her first fight to Mananfioro. Come on. And then she went the distance with Maria Oliveira. I just think somebody's getting subbed here. I like Ricci, but Viana with those 3 subs, man, how do you ignore that? So I like this fight for GPP, actually. I won't be going crazy, nothing like Parker Porter or Almeida, where I will be rostering 100% of this fight. I'll probably have a decent amount, maybe like 60% of this fight, split my exposure, 35-25 or 30-30, however the math may work out. But Viana off to a rough start in the UFC, then turned it around with Whitmire, subbed Martin, and I am missing a fight here. She did sub someone in her very first UFC fight. I only list these 5, though, and I don't have everyone's records memorized, surprisingly. So there we go. Like we said, Ricci losing that KO loss to Mananfioro. No shame in that. A beast. That's her nickname, actually, the Beast. So raw DraftKings points per minute for Viana. Here's the graph over her opponent, but trending up, just what you want to see. So she is really turning it around in these past 2 fights. The big one, and no, I'm not knocking Macedo here, but getting a first round sub loss to Macedo is not a good look. Tabitha Ricci, her opponent's outscoring her, but she is trending up, so you do like to see that. She's just got to shake that Mananfioro fight where she got smashed. Polyana Viana projection 90.14 in a decision, 80 for Tabitha Ricci, but when in finishes, both of these women doing pretty well here. Excuse me as I have to wipe my nose. A little bit of allergies here today in the old Monk Matician's classroom. DraftKings visual statistical recap. Much better graph for Viana, as she does have those finish wins and a bonus point per win number there, looking very good. And then the aggregate UFC and career finishing percentages, very high in wins, like I said, even in losses, 40-50% in the UFC. So I tend to think that this one does not see the judges' scorecards. For that reason, I will be rostering both of them in GPPs. And the salaries are such that it doesn't really matter. You can play 50-50 if you want, or you just pick whoever you think, put more stock in the side that you think is going to win. I'll probably be leaning Ricci, but I'm not comfortable with that 100%. So I'll be playing both of them, and I won't be sweating it at those salaries. All right, guys, next fight, third to last fight of the night. We are at half an hour. I am cruising in this one. Hopefully, I'm still giving you the relevant information. And if I'm not, hopefully you can at least still read it on the screen. Be sure, thanks for watching. Hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. And sub to the Monk Maddox channel. Thank you guys so much. Coco main event of the evening. Chidi and Njokuani going against Dusko Todorovic. Or if you're a best fight odds person, Dirk. I think that's how they have his name spelled over there, because they're super smart guys. guys and girls over there taking care of Best Fight Odds, making sure that everyone's name is spelled correctly, and we don't have, Durko to Dirk fighting Chidi and Njokuani. So shout out to Best Fight Odds over there. Let's see here. Chidi, $8,700. I mean, this guy's stats are completely skewed. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on him. He has one UFC fight where he knocked out, I believe it was MAB. Yeah, Marc-Andre Barrios in, less than 20 seconds. Actually, just over 20 seconds. His professional record, 21-7. He has 13 wins by knockout. You got to play this fight, guys. These stats are crazy. 55 points a minute. Okay, that's totally normal. 129, almost 130 is what he put up. We can't pay attention to any of this. Unfortunately, I need more of a sample size. 30 seconds, actually less than 30 seconds, is nowhere near enough to make a good call on what Chidi's skills are. Statistically, Dusko Todorovic. Sorry, I'll actually say his name because I don't work for Best Fight Odds. Dusko Todorovic is going to be shorter, 6-inch reach disadvantage. Huge red flag there. $7,500, has made the optimal in 1 out of 3 fights since last January. 3.3 points a minute, tremendous pace, 119.67 points when he wins. The highest number on the entire card. I know that's only 2 UFC wins, but hey, that is fantastic. Defensive pace allows 2.83 points a minute and just a tad under 100 when he loses, so not ideal there. He is $1,000 less than his average salary, so you do get some bounce back there. You get a positive with that last scoring negative that I listed, the defensive pace. Both of these guys, 100% of their wins are over 110. I mean, I have no stats for Chidi, unfortunately. Dusko gives up more than half a point per minute in takedowns and control time, I should say, put together. Chidi's bonus points, obviously, this is 115 off the chart here. That was, 90 plus the 25 for the quick win bonus is what he got last time. Dusko, 80 points on average when he wins. That's a first round finish and a second round finish for sure. Here are some relevant fight statistics. And then the strength of schedule. It's surprisingly going to Chidi in almost every single category. But both guys are actually, Chidi's is much better than Dusko's. I'm not a fan of Todorovic's strength of schedule whatsoever. Chidi, like I said, beating MAB in the first round very quickly, just absolutely starching him. Todorovic coming off a win over Maki Pitolo, and then 2 losses to Rodriguez and Soriano. So no joke there. Those are 2 very tough opponents. And Chidi's graph is meaningless. Dusko above his opponents and trending up. So you do love to see that. Here are my projections. Obviously much higher for Chidi because of that performance last time. And the same with the graph there. Aggregate professional career and UFC finishing percentages. Very, very high. Computer Monk definitely picking this one to finish inside the distance. Didn't spend a lot of time on this, but I don't have a ton of stats for Chidi. And you are paying up for him, $8,700. You're paying up for that knockout here. I think he probably gets it done again, but I also think this is a trap. I think this is a possible trap. Chidi has been knocked out 3 times in his career and has been subbed 3 times in his career. Dusko, 10 finish wins, 7 KOs, 3 subs as well. He's live. Dusko is absolutely live in this fight. I love this fight for GPPs. I'm going to have a ton of it. Probably more Chidi, but at 87, that's going to be a bit tough to get to. That is a very tough salary to get to. So I'm probably not going to be going crazy with this fight. Maybe 50% if I had to guess. Maybe a bit more. It just depends. I'm probably going to have to do more fight tape on this. I suggest you do the same or listen to your favorite capper, see what they think about this fight. Because honestly, I think the winner of this could easily make the optimal lineup. I don't see how this one goes to decision. 3 fights, 1 fight. Yeah, so actually 3 fights. Oh no, I'm looking at this wrong. Only 1 fight for Dusko has gone to decision in the UFC. He's only had 2 pro fights go to decision. Meanwhile, 8 out of 28 fights for Chidi have gone the distance. So listen to your favorite cappers, see what they think about this, or just do the tape yourself. But I think whoever wins this one is going to score very well. You have to play both sides of it. Like I said, Chidi could finish you in 20 seconds, and Dusko, I think, could also finish Chidi. Chidi has shown that he is, his armor can be broken. in certain fights. So that's what I'll be looking for. I think the winner makes the optimal lineup, though. At least scores well. Co-main event of the evening, Santiago Ponzinibbio going against Michel Pereira, two guys that just, we haven't seen Ponzinibbio in forever up until his last fight or two, but now he is back on the regular pace of getting UFC fights here, and Michel Pereira just never stops fighting. I love this fight. $8,000, 82 for Pereira. Let's start with Pereira, 3.05 points a minute, 84 when he wins, so nothing crazy. But man, is this guy fun to watch. He's a good fighter. At first, obviously coming into the UFC doing all kinds of flips, cage running, etc. He's really turned a corner, I think. He's still an exciting fighter, but the fundamentals are the foundation of fundamentals is much stronger. You don't see a lot of cage runs. You don't see a lot of backflips in the cage, etc. You just see fighting, which is a good thing. Defensive pace, one of the best on the card. 1.81 points a minute is what he allows. Less than 70 points when he loses is all he gives up. Now, this is over 2 UFC losses. Usually you see a number that low, it's a fluke, it's a one-loss thing. Not in this case. Ponzinibbio, 2.84 points a minute, scores 88 when he wins. Not bad. Has made the optimal lineup in 1 out of his past 3 fights. Defensive pace, also not bad, 2.65 points a minute, but when he loses, 101.36 points. That tells me that he is getting finished in his losses. And in fact, that's exactly right. 2 of his 4 UFC losses, he has been knocked out. But he is $663 under his average salary. Both of these gentlemen coming in under their average salary. I absolutely love to see that. I'm going to have a ton of this fight. This is also a good cash play fight, or cash game fight to play for sure. Either side, honestly. I like this fight for cash. I like this fight for GPPs. 60% so let's see, 6 of 10 UFC wins for Ponzinibbio. He scored over 90, 4 of them over 100, and 2 of them over 110. Pereira has put up over 90 in 2 of his 5 UFC wins and over 100 in just 1. Pereira with the much higher takedown and control time upside, almost 0.8 points per minute, while Ponzinibbio gives up just under 0.5 points a minute in grappling. So that could be something we see here, but I'm really expecting more of a striking fight. If Pereira starts getting hit, if Ponzinibbio starts landing, do expect Pereira to go for takedowns, to go for, to shoot inside and try to stop, the possible onslaught from Ponzinibbio. Here are some relevant fight stats. Very good stats overall. 60% takedown defense for Ponzinibbio, so that is something to look for. He does allow just over 1 takedown per 15 minutes. Only controls 41% of the grappling time. Spends almost 88% of his total fight time fighting at distance, as Pereira does just under 80% fighting at distance. So, unless Pereira starts to get knocked, I think this is going to be generally a stand-up fight. Strength of schedule, pretty even, and numbers that you like to see in the lower to mid 70s is just fine. Pereira with 4 straight wins over Amedovski, Williams, Nico Price, and Andre Fiallo. Jeff Neal beat Ponzinibbio in his last fight. Also, Li Jingliang beat him 2 fights before that. But he did beat Miguel Baeza in the middle of those losses there. DraftKings points per minute. Ponzinibbio over his opponent, but trending down. And we have Pereira way over his opponent while he trends up. His graph not even touching his opponent's graph. Just his defensive skills are fantastic when it comes to the UFC. Here are my projections. Pretty low for the most part, but not too bad. If we get a finish, though, one of these guys is going to make the optimal for probably 8,000 to 8,200. Not a bad look there. The visual statistical recap is almost identical, with Pereira averaging more grappling points per win, strength of victory, and average value. But Ponzinibbio with the finish percent, the DKP per win, and bonus points per win, stats that you really want to be ahead on that graph. Here are the DraftKings the aggregate and UFC career finishing percentages. Pretty low for the most part. Almost 70% of their wins have been finishes in their career, but once you get into the UFC, it drops below 50%. So I imagine Computer Monk thinks this one is going the distance, which I wouldn't be surprised by. But if that happens, 85, 90 points is what you can expect. And at this price tag, depending on the other fights, that could be good enough to make the optimal lineup. It could at least be close, which is why I like both of these guys for cash. I think the winner puts up, like I said, 85 to 90 points minimum. So I do like that. I'm picking Pereira, honestly, but Ponzi could win this one. And yeah, so that's just a very confusing way to say that I like both sides of this fight for cash GPPs. I won't be going crazy with it, but I don't mind like 50, 60%. At these salaries, 82 and 8,000, man. Like I said, you score 90, 95 points with that salary, that could be optimal. Main event of the evening, guys. We are at 40 minutes. We'll get done before 45, hopefully. Last time, thank you so much for joining me. Hit that like and please subscribe to the Monk Maddox channel. I do appreciate it. We are on the road to 300 subs. Let's go, baby. Holm going against Ketlen Vieira, women's bantamweight fight. We'll start with Vieira here, or Vieira. $7,100 for Ketlen, 2.78 points per minute. Not a great pace. Actually, it is top 10, so I shouldn't say that. It's decent. 81.7 points per win. That is what is pretty low. You're not making, I mean, at 7,100, you might make the optimal at 81 points, but not at 91. 2.6 points per minute is what she allows, and over 101 when she loses, so not great there. She's coming in $1,100 under her average salary with an average value of 8.18. So there is some upside to the Vieira side. You get her at an extremely low price. She's also just under 10 years older than Holm, who is 40 years old, 7 months. Holm, $9,100, 2.23 points a minute. That is much lower than I expected, although I don't know why. 83.27 points per win. That's it. And that is over 7 wins. 10th highest pace on the card. Her defensive pace is fantastic, though, allowing just 1.65 points a minute. That's the best number on the card. 87 points when she loses. Fantastic. She's $500 over her average salary, which isn't bad, but $9,100 for Holm might be a little bit much. 7 value on average. Yeah, that might be a little bit much. I think this one goes to decision, guys. I like this one for cash. I will not be playing this one. I will not be very highly exposed, I should say, to this one in bigger tournaments. I just don't trust either one. I think this one goes to decision. If I am picking a winner, I'm picking Holm by decision. But, you know, Ketlen Vieira has been finished by way of KO TKO in the UFC. And she's only, you know, she has had 8 fights here. Let's see if it says who it was. Yeah, Irene Aldana. So I'm going to give Holm the edge here for her tremendous boxing. 42.86% of Holly's, what is that? So 3 of her 7 wins, she scored over 100 points, and 1 of those she scored over 110. So that's actually not too bad. Ketlen Vieira never scoring 90, has yet to score 90 points in a win. So very, very low numbers. Has allowed 90 points in both of her losses and over 110 in one of them. She's given up 2.19 points per minute just in striking. That is not something you want to see going up against Holm. What Holm is going to have to be careful of is Vieira scoring over 1.13 points per minute in takedowns and control time combined. That is going to be an issue here. Holm does not allow much, 0.25 points per minute in grappling, but she's definitely going to have to defend some takedowns here for sure. Relevant fight stats, pretty good for both women. Let's see. Holm's takedown defense, 76.92. So pretty good. 3rd best on the card. 0.44 takedowns landed against per 15 minutes. That is great. Her strength of schedule is really her edge here. I mean, my goodness, it's 10, 20 points above in some of these categories. It's fantastic, while Vieira's leaves something to be desired. Holm beating Irene Aldana, Raquel Pennington, Megan Anderson, and MMA math. I mean, Holm beat the woman that knocked out Ketlen Vieira. So, hey, I know that doesn't work, but still. Vieira coming off an impressive win over Miesha Tate. Lost to Kunitskaya, beat Sarge before that. I'm leaning Holm here. I think she can get it done. I think she has enough in the tank. Her footwork, her boxing, incredible. I absolutely love to watch it. And of course, you have to watch. You get to use this as an excuse to watch Holm head kick the shit out of Ronda Rousey 14 times this week in every highlight. I mean, if you're like me, you stop what you're doing to watch that. I love it. It's a beautiful kick. Not that I'm not trying to hate on Ronda Rousey. It's just a beautiful kick from Holly Holm. I absolutely love it. The way she brings her head down, kicks her right in the neck. Oh my God, just beautiful. Here are my projections. Much better for Holly Holm, as you would imagine. The visual statistical recap looking pretty even there, with Vieira sticking out in the win percentage, and looks like grappling points per win as well. And then the aggregate and career finishing percentages, pretty low, as you would expect for a women's bantamweight fight. 53% of their wins in their career have been finishes, but once you get into the UFC, we're at 23. So we drop real quick. I think this one goes to decision, guys. Like I said, I love this fight for cash. This is probably my highest cash, my most exposed fight in cash, I should say. 5-round decision. I think it's pretty straightforward. Probably a Holly Holm decision. But yeah, anything could happen here, so just don't go 0 on anything. But with this 11 fight card, you're just going to have to get different. Again, like we had last week, you're going to have to get different. You're going to have to think outside the box. Don't just pick who you think's going to win, blah, 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 blah. DraftKings. So, guys, we did it. We covered all 12 fights. Before we get out of here, let's get on to my picks. Sorry, not my picks. Computer Monk's picks, who has dipped below 60% as of last week. 59.49. Womp. Womp. Not great. Not great at all. So, Computer Monk for UFC Vegas 55 has got Sam Hughes, Chase Hooper, Jonathan Martinez, all by decision, Medic by finish, Almeida by finish, Holmes by decision, Park by decision, Polyana Viana by finish, Njokuani by finish, Pereira by decision, and Holly Holm by decision. I don't really mind any of those picks this week, honestly. Yeah, usually I find at least 1 or 2 that I'm very against, but then Computer Monk ends up winning them anyways. So what the hell do I know? But there are Computer Monk's picks for UFC Vegas 55. Guys, we did it. Thank you so much for joining me. All 11 fights in the books from a DraftKings perspective right here on the Monk Maddox channel. Be sure to like, sub, blah, blah, blah. I've already said it too many times. Yeah, check out tonight over on Pub Sports Radio. It's me, Wheezy, Brady, and newcomer Gordo Gambles coming over to the DFS show, so don't miss that. That is at, let's see, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 Central, so be sure to check that out on Pub Sports Radio. MMA Engine, TeamRiserFall.com, use code MONK, save yourself $10 this week. Get at it. Start winning those takedowns, guys. That's all I got for you. I want all of you to enjoy the fight, so enjoy, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.